Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Transfer Market Metrics for Anfield Index. Number 26, I believe, although I really get these numbers wrong each week, so we're probably just taking a stab in the dark at that one. There is a lot of talk, people. The transfer window isn't officially open until the 1st of June, but the names are flying in, some far hotter, some far more exciting than others. And there's three names on the docket, one that we've got to revisit, one that we definitely have to talk about now we've done the transfer show, and one that may have just been nudged into death by the other one, but we'll see. But you're with us as ever, you've run the three profiles, we're ready to talk about these. The three names, I'll let you bill how you see these three names without giving too much about who they are away.
First one, it looks like one we've revisited the other side of the pitch a lot, and that looks like inevitable. So, and I will say my line, it ain't my money, right? So it is what it is, right? One of the ones that are genuinely ignoring some of the most recent stats, which are probably out of their control, could be a really exciting deal if we pull that off. And the other one, yeah, I could see why you would scout it, but the first and the last are probably linked. So yeah, there you go.
Well, without further ado, then we will get straight into it, ladies and gents. And there is only one place to start, isn't there? Really, unless you have been living under a rock. Jeremy Frimpong stories in the last 48 hours or more have exploded, haven't they? We've had numerous journalists on the continent. We've even had Lewis Steele mention him today. We've had Paul Joyce mention him in previous days. Andy Hunter, Crash. We had about 8,000 people mention Jeremy Frimpong. And we've got to revisit him just because of this, Bart. And people talk about Frimpong as almost a Marmite signing, but we've really got to try and delve into this as to it's not guaranteed yet. We know there's no sort of smoke coming out the Pope's chimney, but it seems the set name. What are we digging with on Jeremy Frimpong?
I think this is definitely a case of another layer of analysis that the clubs have, right? Because we must have done it, 3 times on here? 3 times last summer, in the winter, the others. And look, no question that this guy will add something to the team, right? No question about that. But for me, it'll be, he carries the ball. We've established that he carries it very well. 98th percentile per carry, and he takes people on. He has touches in the penalty box in 99th percentile, which basically says there's only 1% of players in Europe in the last year that, for a fullback, that have more touches than him in the penalty box, which is quite something when you consider he's a fullback. Progressive passes received in the 99th percentile. So again, he's that high up the pitch that his other teammates are finding him progressively, which is where we move the ball more than 20% or 20 yards close to the goal, right? So, yeah, I think clearly he is like Robbo in his heyday, I would suggest, attacking wise, yeah. And if you look at his output, 93rd percentile for penalty goals, again, for fullback, right? 98 for non-penalty goals, shot creating action 78. They're all in the 90s bar a few, right? Assists at 89th percentile. I mean, that's still an outstanding stat. It's just powers in comparison when the rest of the attacking metrics are in the 90s, right? But, I think for those of us who, and I've heard people talking, not yourself, but others saying, I think we're going to go back to having a very robust, typical traditional fullbacks that are great defending first and then might offer us something in attack. I think you guys might be slightly disappointed unless there is something hidden away in the depths of other analysis or through slots coaching. He can get something out of him because defensively, they're all in the red. Right, 5th for tackles, which I'm not that. I've always said in the show, a tackle is a reactive defensive metric, not a reactive. So that's okay with me. But interceptions 3, blocks 37th percentile. They're just not That's not what we ideally ask our fullbacks to do, which is be reactive, nip in front, get the ball, and also block across when it doesn't come at you. So an area is 13th percentile. So they have to take part in being part of a defensive unit for defending. You'll see that Robbo has normally have front post, or front zone, if you like. And the other fullback will be positioned in and around those areas. So this would mean we'd have to rejig that slightly because he's not that great. And if you compare him with Connor, who is the current incumbent, which people are talking about up or down, depends on what viewpoint you have. Some will say that he should be the right back. Some have got concerns, which the weekend probably showed you, where he did about 3/4 of the things right. But the thing that actually mattered, we conceded off, he didn't block across. So, there's things, but it's very hard to judge a player when there's no jeopardy, right? So, but given all of that, Connor actually outperforms Frimpong in the passing side of it because and that is also saying that Connor is a carrier, right? We know that. We've compared to fullbacks before. Connor likes to carry the ball, as you can see here. So Connor carries the ball as much as Frimpong, but he passes it better. Touches, Connor has more, but it could be the side he's in. Aerials, Connor is better in the air than Frimpong. But where Frimpong does do better is the attacking side, as we said. He outperforms Connor in all those metrics. So, and that is also to say that Connor at the moment isn't renowned for his blocks. His tackles are not in the highest percentile either. So he's a slightly different. He's different to Connor. He's got a lot more attacking. Connor is different to Trent, and Connor, who said, profiles very much like Robbo. Yeah, neither of them are as good as Robbo was defensively at its peak. So I won't go over old ground, but attacking wise, he definitely could add something to the side. And we love I don't know whether there's release clauses or there's a fee agreed, but if he comes in, he'll add something to the team. And Slot and the data guys have clearly found something in some of the other metrics to go, this is what's hidden. We can do this with him, or we can do that with him, or we can design a system around those flaws. And that's okay. As I said, it's not my money. Attacking wise, he's definitely going to add something to our league. This is going from one league to another, so there will be a slight, movement away in that. It's from Germany to the UK. So if you look on here, German Bundesliga, if I can find it, German 1 to the Premier League converts at 0.84. So those metrics would have to come down by nearly 15%. Okay, so that's just something to consider. I'm not saying that puts you off, but he might then not quite be in the 90th%, in the top end, the 90th percentile.
Yeah.
He might just be in the 90th. So it's still a good position to be attacking wise. Yeah. But I will always say, defensively for me, it's not why I would expect us to profile a player, but they clearly have data we haven't got, and that is absolutely fine. It's their money, end of the day.
Well, it's with that in mind I come to this next bit, because now and again on this show, ladies and gents, I like to throw things off Bart that make him a bit nervous when I put questions, and I like to try and pretend I'm the smart one in this duo. So I spoke to an analyst today, Bart, and I'm going to put some questions to you, which I think may help the viewers and they can make their call then of how they see this one. Because we said on the transfer show a little bit earlier, it does seem like Frimpong and Kirkes are still the main names, and laterally people are going, is anyone going to defend and think of the kids in this type of situation? But let me have the same conversation a little bit that I had with the analyst. I've even got my notes ready to try and look super smart here, Bart. Are you ready?
Yeah, go on.
What are the main key 3 attributes that Liverpool are looking for right now in their fullbacks?
I would suggest attacking wise, it's probably to threat creation to add to that to help. It'll be recovery speed to help with if we get turned over, so the transitional stuff. And probably helping the load into like being the balance pass, helping to be occupy the opposition so we can give Mo more space. Maybe those kind of things are probably some of the areas I would look through for a fullback to be doing.
But you actually match pretty much different terminology, but you match the analysts who said quickness, speed, ultimately, as we call it, final phase contribution. So people will talk about threat or making things happen, XT naturally as well, and power and recovery, as they say, in transitions. This is absolutely key. Now, what the analyst that I spoke to earlier said is actually with these three elements, Frimpong and Kerkez offer you these in abundance. And when you talk about Frimpong, he ranks first in the Bundesliga with 1,021 sprints this season. Seventh for top speed, 36.34. Look at me looking wicked smart, eh? Third for crosses in open play with 94. And 32nd across the entire league for intensive runs. All that's from the Bundesliga website, which, you can flag. You get the physical data as well. What do you say about those stats?
No, I mean, I think there's without doubt they're physical specimens, 100%. Him and Kerkez, for different reasons. I think Kerkez is slightly different build than Frimpong. There's no doubt about that. And he will hit the three targets you want. As I said, I've always said that might not. I would still err on someone who shows slightly more defensive ability. But if they're your priorities, they're your physical metrics you do, then you go and do that deal, don't you?
Okay. The second bit I got from the analyst, Bart, is I'm sure we've all seen the movie Moneyball, Billy Bean, and know how that works. I think, and the analyst was keen on this. People misquote Moneyball. There's a famous Billy Bean line where he says, he gets on base a lot. Do I care if it's a walk or a hit? Famous line from the movie. It's all about getting on base, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do Frimpong and Kerkez ultimately have in common?
They both provide final third, whatever the term you used, assists, or they make stuff happen in the final third.
Yeah. And in fact, third is the key one, because not just the final third, Kerkez is third for crosses into the penalty area in the Premier League, and Frimpong is third for crosses in open play in the Bundesliga this season. So as he says, do we care if it's a walk or a run? Okay, it's not baseball, not football, but Kerkez and Frimpong get the ball into the box. Fact. Does that change anything with you at all?
That would signal that's a different pattern of play from how we play, because we don't cross the ball. You know what I mean? If you're thinking of flying winger to put a ball in the box, that's not what we do. We do a floated pass to the back post, we do a pull back, and we do a ball in behind and a play across. That's a different kind of... I would be interesting to see how they define cross.
Well, the analyst did say it's not like a winger to the byline.
Yeah.
Actually has a variety of ways of getting the ball into the box, be it like a cross, a pass, all sorts. As we've seen does Kerkez, to be fair, in the Premier League. So that's the second thing, sorry. And my third thing, to prove I'm wicked smart from the analyst, both players, as he says, specialise at killing what? From a defensive element.
Killing counter-attacks.
Transitions and counter-attacks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Two of those profile super high on, that's my language, by the way, because an analyst won't be stupid enough to use phrases like that, but profile well in that regard. Does that come into it for you at all?
Oh, 100%. 100%. But there is going to be a point where they're actually going to have to do some defending.
I'll tell you what, he's a hard taskmaster tonight, isn't he, ladies and gents? I'm bringing info, I'm bringing analysts, I'm bringing professionals, and the one named the doctor is shooting stuff down. But I've got to be honest on this, people, because we have looked at Frimpong with a lot of requests from you as well. We analysed him in depth. Now is the time where it either happens or it doesn't a little bit, doesn't it? So we'll see what builds.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately, the analysts have got their view, and that's the profile of the player they're looking for. If they've found a player to match that profile, that's their job, right? I haven't got that brief from starting the club, right? My brief would be slightly different because I'm probably a bit old school. But if those are the three metrics that the analysts have been told to go and find, then they've found the best two players to do that. That'll be interesting because it will require a different way of playing for us as a team.
Yeah, and it might also be a case of worry about the defending a bit later. But if you can kill it in transition, as the analyst also says, that is where a lot of the top teams suffer, don't they? Because they attack a lot. It's transition where they'll normally get hurt that way.
Yeah.
Well, first name finalised, revisited to the second one. And this got excitement on the transfer show, Bart. We revealed it. Rodrygo, Brazilian international, Real Madrid. Now, there's plenty of talk, as we said in the transfer show. Marcy saying that not happy there, didn't get a single minute in the El Clasico. But more importantly, as we also said on the transfer show, Liverpool are making a move. They're trying for this one. Again, it's this other feeling of a big name that's difficult to do this summer, possibly. But we've got to explore a guy with, we can't undercook this, Bart, a hell of a pedigree and trophy collection already. So, Rodrygo, let's run the profile, the normal stats, the minutes and everything else, and see what we get.
Yeah, I think this season is a different one for him, right? And that's, he's not played as much as he probably would have liked. He's down. Saying that, his minutes aren't actually, it's they're 1900-ish. I think this is the league. Compared to last season, he was 23. So there's a drop off, should we say? Yeah, and he's started 4 games less than he did last season in the league, right? So there is that's a difference. But there is a hell of a lot to like about this player, right? Let's not beat around the bush here. This guy has, as you said, it's quite right. You said, he's got the pedigree. He's played. Yeah, so there you go. So if you combine all competitions, he's actually made a similar number of starts than he did last season, right? It's just when you look at where they are this season compared to last, right? He's played less in the league. He's played a similar amount of cup competitions, Champions League. He's played 1 game less. So, yeah, there's a little bit of difference, should we say, when you start looking at various things in terms of starts when he hasn't, right? So, yeah, 22 match starts compared to 28 last season. 12 starts in the Champions League versus 10 this year. There's just little differences, should we say, in when he has played and when he hasn't. And we all know why that is. And that's something out of his control, right? He's not. He knew in the summer, and you saw him after was it Champions League win, or whenever it was. I think he was interviewed sort of a bit downhearted about the win, because I think he realised that might be his last time he was the real leading light, should we say. So, but having said all that, if we collapse it back down, he still played over 3,000 minutes, right? Yeah. Last season he played 3.6, season before 3.7. So he has a pedigree of playing a lot of minutes, right? Yeah. Which, that is one of the things that we desperately need as a player. If you look at what does he add in, so this season, given all of that context that we've already said, whenever he's played, he has added plus, let's just top of that per night, he's added 0.15 XG, non-penalty XG. Previous 2 seasons was slightly lower. So he has added to Real Madrid when he has played, right? Which, again, is good to see. In terms of goal and shot creation, combining that, so total per 90, he is last season was 0.5382 in a real purple patch, right? So there's there's some changes there. Obviously, if you're not going to play as much, it's more difficult. If you get shifted position around as well, there's going to be some stuff to impact in there. Defensively, he is not like he's not going to be a top performer, but I think his game has improved slightly this season. It's 1.575, so it's gone up a little bit. And possession, if we just have a little bit, so where we're taking on the take-ons this season, he's got more successful take-ons, but his volume's down. Touches in the attacking third, are slightly down from last season, but not by much. In terms of penalty box touches, down slightly, so 182 versus 268. So, there are some things, but as I said, that is just largely, I think, down to his position's changed, his playing time's changed. And he's got to be a little bit, but he's still having a positive impact on Real Madrid when he is playing, right? That's not to be sniffed at. I was just looking at his aerial duels. Last season was a high for him at 71, and this season is at 30. So, but if we go to our usual kind of shenanigans with him, I would suggest that he has some top level bits. We shall compare him to some of our favourites. We'll compare him to Diaz. We look at his overall as an AM or a winger, which I think is, if you look at an out. I think this may have changed over the last few days, by the way, because Diaz has been in the news talking about contracts and the rest of it. But if we're looking at that kind of size, or even if we say 2 years ago, so we bring in some, that kind of options. So we put him in that profile. Defensively, he's not. He's in 63rd percentile for blocks, interceptions 50, and tackles. He's probably a little bit higher for us. But what has he done between the boxes? His passes attempted 87th percentile, pass completion 86%. He passes, that's 98th percentile, right? So that's very, very good for it. But you'd expect that a Real Madrid player has to be good on the ball. It's like a Liverpool player. Have to be good on the ball. It's their whole DNA is the ability to pass the football. But what he also does is he carries it. 87% percentile for progressive carries, successful take on 77, touches in the penalty box 81st percentile, so nearly 6 a game, and progressive passes received at 90. So, but this is where he's probably slightly deviated off this season. He's not in a particularly 81st percentile, but that's not actually him taking any XG. It's him creating things for other people. Okay, so assisted down actually. So it's a little bit of combination. He's creating shot creation, but might not be a direct assist. If you compare him with forwards, so we compare him as Diaz as a forwards, Diaz probably outperforms him this season. This season. Again, some good metrics there. Maybe not so great in the box, but in between the boxes. So I think it depends on what profile you want to compare him with. If you compare him as an AM, he does outperform Diaz on a lot of the metrics, bar the actual scoring the goals, because Diaz is having a purple patch this season, whereas Rodrygo isn't. So there is some things to look at. Looking at the main dash that I sometimes do for them, looking at where we are, he's involved in Real Madrid's play every other minute, which is impressive considering he hasn't started that many games. Interestingly, he's making passes in both half spaces and some in zone 14, which is what we want. In terms of threat creation, we have him in and around good areas. So the areas he will be playing in is the half spaces, which isn't as high on here as you'd expect. So 7 and 12 and 18 and 6 are the wide areas. So that's something this could indicate how he is. But in terms of defensively, he's defended well in terms of stopping threat going the other way. So, there is some things on the docket for him. This particular game, he contributed in terms of 4.5% of the team EPB. So not a great game for him, but pass success still good. Dual rate 40% for a wide player, 58 touches. So he had 2 shots with 0.06 XG. So not a strong game for him. But I suppose it's where you're bringing him into play. Yeah, it's a key thing. Who you're replacing him with. But I think the guy does have pedigree. I think we were talking before we have like the last year is probably not a fair reflection of him because the previous 2 years were highs of his. And we all remember him playing really well in the league final. So, there's various, he has been there, done that, won multiple competitions for Real Madrid. And you can't say that he wouldn't be, he definitely has pedigree. In terms of XT, to give you an idea, even in this season where he's maybe not been a star in light, he's got 0.15. So if you're playing him up top, that's an improvement on Jota and Diaz. Jota and Nunes, sorry. If you're playing him wide, that's a slight nudge above Diaz and Cody, who are about 0.14, 0.15. So yeah, it's nowhere near Mo levels, but it's still it's better than the 2 9s we have, and it's better than Chiesa purely because he's playing. So yeah, I think this would be. I think people could be excited by this guy signing for Real Madrid, definitely. And he's a winner. He's won a lot of stuff at 24. He knows how to get across the line.
I mean, as well, we talk about this honestly, that the key things, and it does feel like if it would be for Luis Diaz more than anything. But Rodrygo is just 24, isn't he? Whereas Diaz is 28, nearly 29. Even in his worst season, which has probably been this, and there's reasons for that, as we know with Mbappe in that scenario, he's still got 23 goal contributions. And last season, he scored 18, the season before 19. We shouldn't just ignore this. This is also a guy that can play across the line, isn't it? It's important to say. Could also, not his favourite position, be a centre forward, but could play left, could play right as well. There are so many reasons to like this signing, isn't there, if it was to happen?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've just pulled up there comparing it to Darwin, and he's even in a poor season, he's better than Darwin on nearly everything apart from some of the goals, obviously. But so I think if you look at where he can play, what he can bring to what he can do, given that platform, I think this could be a really astute signing. It would suggest that someone is leaving. Unless he's playing down the middle, which we're all pretty set on our 9s being changed, then if you're bringing him in to play left, then one of those is leaving because this guy is not being brought in to sit on the bench.
Yeah.
He's not going to go, I'll leave Madrid for the sun to go and sit on the bench for Liverpool. He ain't going to do that. He's going to come in to start.
No. It'll be interesting to see if this does get pursued further. But there you go, ladies and gents. There is Rodrygo on the docket. And this final one, Bart, maybe this is a name that came out via L'Equipe, mainly because he's based in France, Vanderson. However, there's almost an element people will feel, hold on, all the Frimpong news, but it's important to say Frimpong is not confirmed. He is not doing the Axeline. He's not even on the piss with the boys in Dubai on the yacht or anything like that. He is a name that's come up a few times. So it is important that we do explore him. And I mean, even on the surface, Vanderson's got a lot of green across the board. So I'm intrigued to see how he profiles on this one.
Yeah, I mean, what is he? He's 23, Brazilian, which when you first told me who he was playing for and the rest, I was like, really? Is he? Okay, fair enough. He's not a tall lad, by the way, but there you go. Attack. I'd have to rely on you if you got any physical metrics because they're not readily available for the French league. But there you go. There's a lot of green on his metrics. Tackles is a little bit high. I think we always say that's a reactive stat. So 95th percentile for tackles is not necessarily a good thing, right? Yeah. It potentially says he's not in the right position in the first place, right? Interceptions and blocks, okay, great. Those are two things that we would probably ask our fullbacks to be doing things. Aerials, again, not a strong point of his. I think maybe they're not being asked to look for fullbacks that are strong aerially, but that's 59th percentile. It's not awful, but it's not a strong suite of his. Attacking wise, Progressive passes received, again, that same metric that you spoke about, that would suggest he's hard at the pitch, receiving the ball from partners. Touches in the penalty box, 87th percentile. Take-ons, 86th percentile. So that's the 1-1 a game. Progressive carries, 73rd. These are all a similar profile, right? Carries the ball, plays up high, gets the ball, carries it.
Yeah.
Pass completion, not so good for this guy, though. More, I think Kirk, as I remember off right, his pass completion wasn't that high, if I remember correctly.
Nah.
Pass attempted, though, is good, but his completion's low. So, yeah, you kind of, that it's sort of a trade-off with that. But in terms of in the box, he's 74% off shot creating actions for a fullback. So, it's good, not as good as Frimpong, but still, that's still saying that there's only 25% of fullbacks are better than him in the last season. Assists, 78th percentile. So again, only 22% of fullbacks are better than him per 90. There is a lot to like. Minutes played, because we didn't do that. He has played so 2,000 minutes for Monaco, which it's an improvement from last year. But it's not a high amount. If you compare him to, I've just compared him with Frimpong, just done the lad. Frimpong is in red here, so Frimpong is better, shockingly, attacking wise, but Vanderson is better defensively and passing the football. But if you compare him to Bradley, then Vanderson is probably slightly better attacking wise than Bradley. Does more attacks and tackles in blocks, but Bradley passes the ball better, carries it better, and wins the ball aerially. So, he's sort of a bit of I think he's a carrier. He's a similar profile to one of them, but he's got some skills that are better than Bradley and better than Frimpong, but then he's not as good at attacking as probably either of them. So that's interesting to note. In terms of dashboards, he's played right back area, so he's heavily linked in his team. On the ball every minute or so, which is fair. He's involved up the pitch for right half space. He's involved in passing the ball into that area, which is kind of what you want a fullback to be doing. Threat down this right hand side, he's involved in 18, 20. 22% of the threat coming from areas that he would operate in, which is more left for Monaco, which is good to be seen in terms of where does he defend. Only lost 7% of duels against him in terms of threat. PPDA, so he's a fair amount of action. So that is 13, nearly 15% of defensive actions he's contributing to, but they're in a kind of a midfield area, which is. So they're not in the defensive third, they're in the middle third, which is interesting. XG is not a component of the tackling shots on. So that's fine. If you look at what he does in terms of XT, 0.17. Now, I'll tell you the conversion in a minute for the French league, but that's more than Connor does. So Connor's 0.10. So that's almost Robertson levels. Robertson is 0.18. So something to think about. But as you rightly say to me, it's not all about XT and rainbows. So, but comparing the French La Liga to the Premier League, actually, I was surprised by this. 0.91, which means you've only got to take 9% off his defensive metrics. So, surprisingly, although it might turn out to be completely immaterial in the next few days, he looks a fairly solid player. I don't know what his physical metrics are because it's not available in the public domain. So I've got no idea about speed or his durability in terms of intensive runs. But I would imagine they would have looked at that to even consider looking at him. But in terms of everything else, in terms of his impacts, in terms of the attacking box, it's not as good as Frimpong, but it's still in the 70s in terms of percentiles. Defensively, he has some some strengths, it would be fair to say, and he's a carrier in between the boxes. So, yeah, an interesting one. Particularly when you compare all three, there are some similarities and also some distinct differences. So I'd imagine this guy's probably the cheaper end of all of them.
Yeah, suggestions with this guy, it'll be sort of 20 to 25 million. But again, this is from reports. You're never 100% certain, because I know someone's going to jump on this in the chat panel and say it'll be more than that. And speed, according to UEFA in the Champions League, top speed of 33.93, so essentially 34. So nowhere near as electric as Frimpong, but not a slow coach by any means at the same time that way. I've got to ask you this, Bart. I can't ask you it in a more direct manner. One obviously seems closer by a long way between Frimpong and Vanderson. But if I'm picking up right, you prefer this one, don't you?
This is more of a fallback that I would look at profiling, right? Because his defensive metric, although I don't like tackles, he's still 95th, 97, 94 for some key defensive metrics are very, I would suggest things that you would be looking for in a defender. If you look at his complete report, defensive, there is a lot of green to like in there, right? So errors is low, interceptions high, tackles and interceptions high. They're in the 90th percentiles. Dribblers tackled 92nd. So we have a lot of duels against us because they like to get 1v1. Challenged 86th. The tackle success rate 75th percentile, but that's 2 in 3. Okay, that's that exceeded some of the rates that we've had against the CCs and even Bradley at the weekend. That's not that far away. And a tackles, where does he tackle? So you were saying likes to stop counter attacks, right? So tackles in the attacking third, 88th percentile. Tackles in the middle third, to stop being countered on, to stop being transitioned, 98th percentile. So using some of the bits that you've given from the analyst, I could see why this guy would also tick those boxes. But I would also suggest that he has signs that he's on these metrics, right? And I will caveat that these look to be performing better in the defensive metrics versus Frimpong, who I completely accept might have a different role, might do different responsibilities. But in terms of the pure defensive stuff, there is a lot of green there. And actually, there's probably a lot more green there than there is in Bradley's profile as well. So, but I take on board, attacking-wise, he won't be the same as Frimpong, and passing-wise, he's not as good as Bradley, which is a pretty standard thing that we ask for as a Liverpool footballer. So, but his XT, which people could debate all they want, that is also a marked improvement on Bradley. So, there's a lot, for me, there's a lot to like about this guy. The 20 million or 25 million. That looks a very interesting deal.
Well, both have been linked, so someone will put in the chat panel 30. Again, only based off what we've read. Is not something we've got too much on. It is based on L'Équipe and their reliability and previous reports. But there you go, ladies and gents, that when you break it down, Frimpong, we're not going to analyse him a fifth time for you or whatever it is, but we've looked at it. I've put Bart's on the spot over things around what the analyst said, and he's given his view there. Rodrygo, if you can't get on board with that, maybe just get off this altogether. And Vanderson, maybe just Bart's his guilty pleasure in terms of a right back and which one he preferred. But as he also said, it may all be immaterial. It's important I shout it out again as well. The range is going fast, ladies and gents. So if you do want any Anfield Index Champions range, the mugs, your T-shirts, the lot, it is going fast. So people have asked me about that. The website is the place to visit. But the final thing we say as ever, Bart, for the time, the insight, and standing up to the analyst questions, it is much appreciated.
No worries, anytime.
And ladies and gents, that was and other transfer market metrics for Anfield Index.